In the last 31 days, I have done $362,861 in sales on just over 33,000 in ad spend, and gross profit has been 328K, and that is a 10.67 ROAS. And I did that working 4 to 6 hours a day. My team consists of just me and a VA, and we've completely automated acquisition and extremely leveraged our fulfillment. And I believe that the old way of needing to hire client success managers and setters and closers, I think that's on its way out, at least for those who understand what I'm about to share with you in this video. And if you don't know who I am, my name is John Whiting. I've scaled 3 online businesses past 7 figures. I sold one of them in 2019. I've worked with well over 1,000 online business owners, coaches, consultants, agency owners, and my goal is to help you make 50 to 100K a month in take-home profit after tax, and then turn that into actual wealth in your bank account. And if you want more videos to help you scale your online coaching business in a way that doesn't completely suck, you can check out the rest of my channel. And I've done what I've done recently by deleting about 80, honestly even 90% of my client base, my team, my offers, and we've just made way more profit with way less effort. And I'm actually doing a workshop, depending on when you're watching this video. There's probably a link in the description, or you can find this post on my Instagram and just comment the word Purge, and my little ManyChat automation will send you the details if you want me to have my eyes on your business and help you understand what you need to cut in order for you to be more efficient. And in this video, I'm going to give you the big idea here of what my new model for the rest of 2025 and going into 2026 looks like, and how I'm producing the profit and client results of many online coaches in our space that have teams of 20, 30, or even 50 people. And it really just comes down to how you think. That's what everything that I do is, not necessarily the knowledge of what to do, but it's more the wisdom of how to think. And one of my favorite quotes is, knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is knowing not to use it in a fruit salad. And so if you're watching this, you probably have a business that is relatively bloated, and your time, energy, and money is getting sucked into doing things that, well, quite frankly, suck. So my goal is to help you eliminate those things and refocus so that you have the wisdom to know where to focus your time, effort, and energy, and where to remove your time, effort, and energy. And I know that everybody that you probably follow, because I probably follow them too, sells you on the fact that you need more leads, more clients, more team, and all that stuff. And most coaches that are hitting 6 or 7 figures are pretty much on that program, and most of them are not happy. They're working extreme hours for less and less profit, and they're stuck in what I call a sophisticated poverty machine. And it looks successful from the outside. We have a team, but it needs constant management. We have systems, but they break every other week. We have clients, and an uncomfortably large percentage of them, they're draining. They kind of suck. And we have revenue, but we're wondering, where is this profit? We're wondering, why is it so inconsistent? Why are we stressed out? And many coaches can't take a vacation without feeling guilty that they're taking time off. And they can't fire problem clients because they need the cash to afford the team members that they're paying to manage and close these clients. And they can't fire the team members because then they'll have to step in and do it, but they're too busy putting out fires. And they can't raise prices because either of some limiting beliefs, or their salespeople don't think that they can sell it at that price, whatever it is. The worst part of this, though, is that they definitely cannot admit any of this to their peers because, well, on the outside, on social media, they're crushing it. So it's kind of like this golden handcuffs type of a situation. And let me tell you a little story of what actually prompted this workshop that I'm doing next week. And it actually came on the tail end of our last Q4 Bulletproof Boardroom Mastermind. And just for context, me and 25 of my top clients got together for 3 days and went deep on creating systems, processes, and arranging our coaching businesses so that we have peace of mind every single day. we get closer and closer to having our business run itself and having your wealth grow every single month. And that's really the focus of what we do inside of the Bulletproof Boardroom. And so you can see just a couple of pictures here, just so you have some context. There's a couple of my clients, Justin Saunders, Elliot Hulse. And so it was really great. And it's called the Bulletproof Boardroom, completely data driven, because as Warren Buffett says, if you can't manage your emotions, you can't manage money, and numbers are the language of business. And we exclusively work with 6- and 7-figure online coaches and have members that are some of the biggest names in our industry. And if you want more information on this, just find me on Instagram at bulletproof.john and just DM me the word bulletproof, and I have a little ManyChat automation that'll send you all the details, including pricing and everything like that. I don't have any setters or closers in there. It's just me. There's no AI or anything like that, just a chat bot that'll ask you a couple quick questions and then send you all the offer details and all that stuff. So I digress. The reason I've decided to squeeze this workshop in on November 25th was one of my clients on day 3 of our last mastermind had asked me a question about optimizing his business model. And there was probably about half a dozen others in the room that were very, very curious about how I would go about helping them optimize their offer structure, their team structure, and how they're running everything to get more out of the business that they already have. So what I've found to be a common thing is, most likely if you have a couple dozen successful clients, you've made at least 6, maybe even 7, maybe even 8 figures already, but everybody's running around with their hair on fire and you just keep launching massive imperfect action, and you have maybe multiple offers, you got a bunch of team members, lots of problems, lots of fires, and you've kind of gotten into a cadence where that's just normal. And that's, it's not necessarily bad. I just personally believe that there's a simpler way of doing this. And that's why I set out to kind of prove that. And over the last year, that's been my main focus, is getting my business model dialed in so that it has as much leverage as humanly possible, and that I only spend the time doing the things that I really actually like doing. So what we did with my client is took him through this optimization process that I kind of made up on the spot, and that I'm going to take you through on this workshop, and I'm going to share with you my thought process in the rest of this video. But my client's doing about $90,000 a month, started with me around $30,000 a month. So we scaled, but I found out that he was working like 12 to 14 hours a day and had all sorts of offers, client types, done for you, done with you, do it yourself. And it was kind of a mess. But he's got like 50% margin, so he was taking home like 40 grand a month, but the hours that he was working was outrageous. Guy has 3 kids, nuts. And so what I did, I said, all right, what we need to do is create a list of your clients, and we need to break down the net hourly rate per client. And on this workshop, I'm going to give you a calculator and walk you through how to do this for your business. But we need to break down the net hourly rate, because there's probably clients that you're spending more time with that you're making less. And when I say net hourly rate, I mean cost of fulfillment. So if you're paying client success managers or account managers or VAs or whatever it is as a cost of fulfillment, I don't care if the client's paying you 10 grand a month. If your expenses are 8 and you're still working however many hours putting out fires, you don't have a 10 grand a month client. You have, in this client's case, he had a $16 an hour client. And so we discovered that he was working 4.7 times harder and longer than he needed to. So if you feel like you're grinding a lot and you're working really, really hard, there's a really, really good chance that you don't need to be doing 50, 60, 70, 80, or even 90% of what you're doing right now if you just restructured things differently and knew what to hit the delete button on. And you've heard Alex Hormozy, if you follow that guy, talk about this as well. It's about what you say no to that really dictates your success. So back to my client here, he was working 4.7 times harder and longer than he needed to. That means instead of working 14 hours a day, he's now able to make the same profit in just 3 hours a day. Think about that. That freed up 9 to 10 hours per day for him. That's 150 days per year, which is 5 months per year. And had we not had that conversation, I'm glad he brought it up, because I realized even more that it was a bigger issue, especially for some other members that we had in the room. And he would have just kept grinding away had we not done this exercise. And so after doing this exercise, that really mathematically means he'll be able to hit his goals 4.7 times faster. So here's a post he made in our community, and I just highlighted this. He was doing some done for you work that was really hands-on, and he was doing some done with you / DIY. So the average of his done for you and what he called agency clients was $57 net per hour. Consulting clients net per hour was $270. And he said some of the agency clients had a net dollar per hour as low as $16. That's like some McDonald's shit. And some of the consulting had as high as $330. Now, obviously, he thanked me for having him do it, but the truth is 80% of your clients shouldn't be clients. 80% of your team probably shouldn't exist. And 80% of your time right now is being used solving problems that shouldn't even exist in the first place. So I kind of knew this innately about a year and a half ago when I really decided to commit myself to optimization. And I think, as the saying goes, optimize before you maximize. And I had maximized, but man, like, it was just not optimal. I didn't want to do what I was doing in the way that I was doing it. And so we went through this little mini exercise with my client, and they said, hey, can you like do something to expand on this? And I said, yes. And so I got a little creative here and went with a purge theme, but we really need to know what to get rid of. We need to delete 80% of your business. Now, if that is concerning to you in some way, I have this book that I wrote called The 7-Figure Mind Method. The foreword is by a guy by the name of Dan Henry. There's a process in the back of this book that basically allows you to rewire how you are looking at fears, doubts, frustrations, resentments. So if you've ever been afraid to fire somebody and you kept somebody for way too long, that's costing you money. If you took on a client that you knew was kind of going to suck just because you needed the money, that client probably ended up costing you at least what they paid you in terms of maybe direct costs and or the stress, the energy, everything that it was the soul-sucking result of signing that client. And so that's why, for the most part, that I found with me that I wanted to hire all these people, is because I didn't want to deal with the clients that we were signing, and we were signing the clients because we were making offers that attracted the wrong clients. And it was this whole big chain reaction. And so with my clients, what I do is I start with optimizing their offer and target avatar. And one of the biggest leverage points for me in doing this whole thing has been narrowing down to only my best client. And I have other videos on the channel where I talk about how I've done this, and specifically going into selling without calls. So be sure to check those out. But what I found is, and I'm sure you would find this too, is think of the one client that you have or have had in the past that you would love to have 100 of them. Like, genuinely, actually, you'd hang out with them for free. They pay you a lot of money. They actually do what they tell you they're going to do. They do their job. They get great results. They send referrals. They thank you. Imagine 100 of those. Your business would be probably in pretty good shape, and you probably wouldn't need a whole lot of babysitters because you wouldn't attract clients who need babysitters. And that all goes further back down into what is your marketing message and what is your offer. You want to repel the clients that give you a hard time, and like directly telling them. So I'll directly tell you right now, if you're looking for easy, quick shortcut, if you're looking for get rich quick, if you make all sorts of excuses, you take no responsibility, you're not resourceful, please don't ever buy any of my shit. Just please don't do it. And I say that with love. There's plenty of people that have built businesses that they would love to babysit you. I just don't want to do it. And so what happens is when you start reorienting your business around only the perfect ideal client, you only start attracting the perfect ideal client, thus removing the need for 90% of the bullshit on the back end. And as long as you set expectations properly, you can kind of get away with almost anything. Like I tell all my clients, nothing that I have or do is perfect, but here are my intentions for you. But I also don't chase. I even tell them on our initiation call, I say, look, you jump, I jump. And usually, when my clients jump, meaning they do something in the direction of what our targets are or their targets are, usually I see that and I reward that with jumping in and going above and beyond. But I tell them this may be the last time that we ever chat on our initiation call. And to be clear, I create a whole custom plan and I do work one-on-one with all of my clients. But here's the wild thing is I offer one-on-one calls every single month, and I can count on one hand this year how many one-on-one calls have been actually booked with me. And the reason is because our stuff is so leveraged and our clients are so good and resourceful, and we make all of our decisions based on data, like that dashboard I showed you earlier. We know all our KPIs, all our finances, and it makes decision making really simple. And so when you focus on the right areas and you only attract the right people and you run everything by the numbers and you're very clear on who you're trying to attract and who you're trying to repel, the game becomes way easier. Are you following me here? And so one thing that I had to do is once I made the decision, this was actually in 2023, and at the time we had over 500 active clients. And I did this with the agency that I sold to. I sold it once we were at 400 some odd clients. But that was another one where we had a team of 25 people and it was just became this beast that I didn't like. And so now I have literally 20% of the clients that I had a couple years ago, and I'm making more profit than I was then in less hours with less team. And the first part of doing that was narrowing down who I'm trying to attract and then setting the expectations properly. But I had to take a big old red marker and slash all of those clients out of my business. And you have to do it in a specific way. Unless you have the cash flow set aside to be able to float yourself, you have to wind down very eloquently. And I've become pretty decent at that. I've had to do it with 3 different businesses now. And on this workshop, I'm going to give you the scripts and thought processes as to how to fire clients, how to know who to fire, what to say to them, how to fire team members, and how to wind it down so that everybody still, in large part, gets what they want out of the deal and you're not leaving anybody high and dry. And so there's a process to this. Just because we're, purging and there's, there's this guy, in the top left here who doesn't look super thrilled. Just because we're doing that doesn't mean, we're slashing them instantly. But in some cases we are and we can. And again, if you want to chat through that, come to this workshop. If you hate it, I'll give you your money back. But I really believe that it's about cutting all of the fat. And especially since if your business right now is a disorganized piece of shit, you shouldn't scale it. So if you're having a tough time scaling it, like, I don't want to say you can't, but you probably shouldn't. Otherwise, you're just going to have a bigger, more disorganized piece of shit, because as something scales, we have what's called entropy, and it starts to break apart and disintegrate. And so if your shit's not really dialed at small scale, it will be a fucking nightmare at big scale. At least that's what I've found in the clients that I've worked with. So as I mentioned here, we're going to do what I'm going to call a poverty audit. And that is, we're going to calculate your true net dollars per hour for every client and team member. And we're just going to be able to find out what doesn't make sense to do anymore. And then we're going to identify the 80% to cut, when to cut them, all that stuff I just said. And then there's a framework that I've shared with my clients that all of them have said is life-changing. And it's the same framework that I've used to engineer my life and business now to where I really, really like it. And it's paying me what I want to make. And it's growing pretty consistently month over month. But it's really about identifying like the root problems that cause what I call the symptoms that you're dealing with. So, babysitting team and them screwing up and clients that suck and those fires and all the hours, like those are all symptoms of the root problem that you never really got crystal clear on who exactly is your perfect ideal avatar. And then you probably have been creating quote unquote irresistible offers for the unideal client. And so if you have the wrong client and you have an irresistible offer that attracts the wrong client, and then you scale that, that's pretty much why you're in a shitty position. So I'm going to walk you through like my whole coaching model and how I work with 100 plus clients, 0 calls, 0 customer success managers, 0 hand holding, how I have content and retargeting that does 90% of the selling for me. And our clients basically show up pre-sold. And the first time that I really ever talk to them is after they've paid for my high ticket program and we're doing our onboarding, minus maybe a couple questions back and forth in the Instagram DMs. But to be clear, going back to our stats here, look at this. In the last 31 days, we signed 12 clients at an average LTV of $30,000. We've had 24 applications, and you can see the cost per acquisition here on that $30,000 client is 2.4K or 2,400 bucks. 24 applications at $1,000 a pop. Now here's where it gets interesting. Qualified leads who come through my DMs. So when somebody DMs me the word bulletproof, my automation asks some qualifying questions. I've only had 125 people DM me the word bulletproof in the last 31 days. The average cost to get that is $235. Only 42% of them have been qualified, and the average cost per qualified DMer is $717. So there's really only been 41 people in the last 31 days that have even had the opportunity to ask me a question. I only talk to the qualified people. And so it's like, well, they're already pre-sold, they're already warmed up, and all I got to do is answer a couple questions. And if they like what they see and hear, they apply. And then I've rejected 12 of the 24 applications. So I select my clients now. I don't chase. And even after my clients sign up, I don't chase. So people are like, well, how do you manage all the DMs? Are you closing in the DMs? I'm like, I don't know. About half of the qualified people had any questions for me. So that's 20 people. Could you send a couple voice notes back and forth to 20 people over a span of 31 days to make $328,000 in profit and then do 1 call a week? Oh, I guess the initiation call, which is 30 minutes for each client that I onboarded. So that's a total of 6 hours of client calls that are one-on-one initiation calls. And then the rest of my time is really just making YouTube videos like this. So it's super leveraged. And if you go to my Instagram, you can go to this post. These are just some, testimonial interviews from clients from our event. You can see what their experience is like working with us. And all we do is what I just explained to you. So if there's a part of you that would really love to fire a lot of your clients and a lot of your team, and what I'm saying resonates with you, and you want my eyes on your business to help you identify what to cut, when to cut it, how to cut it in a way that sets you up for long-term success, grab a seat on this workshop. We're going to do a live business purge. I'm going to show you exactly where you're bleeding profit, what to focus on for the next 90 days. You're going to get a complete purge plan, and you're here because you're trapped in a business that looks successful but feels like a prison. You're working harder than ever, your team is expensive, your clients are demanding, your profit margins are shrinking, and if you're ready to clean house, do a purge, think about when you clean out your closet, right? Don't you feel better when you organize stuff and you throw stuff away? Don't you feel better and lighter? We need to do that with your coaching business. Because if you multiply what you're doing right now by a factor of 10 or a factor of 100, what does that feel like if you just visualize that? I'm not talking about the justification that you just made about why what you're doing actually makes sense and why you're the exception to this. I'm talking about the reality. Because you've been telling yourself all these smart justifications for probably too long now. You've been working on the same shit and fixing the same problems over and over and over and over again. That's not how this is supposed to go. Or at least, maybe it's supposed to go that way for some people. That's not how it's going for me and my clients though. So if there's a part of you that thinks there must be a more efficient way of doing this, there must be a way of doing this that doesn't completely suck, then grab a seat. The big idea here is there's basically just you and then your resources. What I've done is I've built a John AI that is trained on my entire knowledge base of stuff that my clients chat with that solves a lot of their problems for them. I create a custom protocol that I give my clients when they first start working with me that's tailored to them based on what they put on their onboarding form, that I point them to all of these resources that I've created, whether that's what we call our Bulletproof Mind system, or whether it's our TEDi tracking system that gives you the ability to see all of your important data from every area of your business all in one dashboard, has AI calculators that tell you exactly what to work on next, where you're behind pace, where you're ahead of pace. When you have all of these things and you're making decisions based on numbers, and you have resources, and you have tools, and you have processes, and you have a way of reviewing these things and giving direct feedback to your clients, like I honestly spend maybe like 15 minutes a day responding to clients, and they love it. I just send them quick Loom videos pointing them to whatever it is that they need to be pointed to. It allows you to be really leveraged. So in this workshop, I'm basically going to walk you through a process on how do you create a really good resource that does all the heavy lifting for you. And the goal is, in your coaching business, you only want to solve a problem once. So if you find yourself solving the same problem over and over again, you have a pretty shitty resource for that. So we're going to walk through how to create a great resource with all sorts of leverage so that it does the heavy lifting for you. A person is a good resource. Something that is digital and leveraged, that doesn't sleep, that does the job for the human, is a great resource. And so in order to do this, you need great resources for the right people in the right order, in the right places, and you need to know how to attract the right people into that ecosystem, train them on how to be good clients, and operate within your ecosystem. And then we just need to structure your offer or offers so that they all feed the same goal, and we're optimizing for profit, and we're running everything by the numbers. And when you do this, instead of needing more, we need less. And we can take big red X to everything that you're doing right now that is wasting a lot of time, and we can replace that with only clients you love, only tasks that you love to do, and getting paid lots of money per hour and working as much or as little as you want while simultaneously building wealth. So that's my goal for you on this workshop. Depending on when you're watching this video, it may or may not be available in the link in the description, but we're doing it live November 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to check that out. I think you're going to be really, really glad that you did. There's a lot better way of doing this whole coaching business thing that's a lot more leveraged and a lot less of a pain in the ass than you're probably currently doing it right now. And I'm excited to share with you what I've learned on that topic. So go ahead, grab a seat, or you can learn more about the whole system and all of the components that we work with our clients on. I call it the $1 Million Blueprint, where I walk you through our whole bulletproof protocol and how we get our clients to 50 to 100K a month and take home profit. So if that sounds interesting, you can start there. I've got that lined up for you next, and I'll see you in that one.